You are not a people pleaser. That is not what this is. People pleasers want to please. You said yes because you had no choice. Not because you are weak, because saying no has always cost you something. Something real, something that mattered, early enough that the lesson stuck. So you learned. Yes keeps things safe. No creates a risk I cannot afford. That lesson was right then. It may not be right now. Today we look at where that lesson came from, and what it is costing you now. This is not about learning to say no. That is the wrong place to start. The inability to say no is not a personality trait. It is a learned response. It was learned in a specific environment, at a specific developmental stage, where saying no produced a response that felt threatening to a younger version of you. That response could have been anger, withdrawal, disappointment, rejection, or punishment, guilt. Being made to feel responsible for someone else's feelings. The brain filed the conclusion: declining requests damages relationships, and declining relationships for a child is genuinely threatening. It was survival. The problem, that survival logic is still running in situations that are not survival. Your brain is using a very old map in very new territory. 3 distinct root patterns. Most people have one dominant one. Root 1, love is conditional. Approval is earned. No risks losing it. If affection was withheld when you disappointed, you learn to not disappoint. Now you say yes because yes is how you maintain the connection, even when the connection does not actually depend on your yes. Root 2, your worth is in your usefulness. You are loved for what you do. If you were praised for helping and invisible when you were not, this is yours. Saying no feels like withdrawing the only thing that makes you worth keeping. Root 3, conflict is catastrophic. Peace must be maintained at any cost. If conflict in your early environment was genuinely dangerous, this pattern makes sense. You became the person who smooths things over, who absorbs friction. No risks conflict. Conflict is catastrophic. So no is off the table. The cost of the chronic yes is rarely discussed honestly. It costs you your time. That is the obvious one. Everyone knows that part. It costs you your resentment capacity. You store what you cannot say. Resentment that cannot be expressed becomes the texture of your relationships. You smile. You help. You say yes. And underneath, something tight. The people around you sometimes sense it. They cannot name it, but they feel it. It costs you your identity. You become defined by what you provide, not who you are. When you stop being useful, even briefly, the anxiety arrives, and it costs you authentic relationships, because no one knows your real limits. They know the version that says yes, not the version that has needs. Here is the layer underneath the pattern, the real fear. Most chronic yes-sayers are not afraid of conflict. Not really. They are afraid of discovering that without the yes, they are not loved, that the relationship was conditional, that their presence was transactional, and that fear is so threatening that it is easier to never test it. So you say yes, indefinitely, to avoid the test. But here is what happens when you never test it. You never know. You live inside a conditional relationship you cannot confirm is conditional. The yes does not remove the fear. It postpones the test. The fear remains. 5 practices. None of them start with just say no. That is the wrong beginning. Practice 1. Identify which root is yours. Root 1, 2, or 3. The root tells you what the yes is protecting. That is where the work starts. Practice 2. Run a small test. Say no to something low stakes this week. Not to the most important relationship. To something where the cost of testing is low. Observe what actually happens, not what the fear predicts. What actually happens. The fear's predictions are based on old data. The test produces new data. Practice 3. Name the resentment before it stores. Say it to yourself. I said yes and I did not want to. I am noticing the resentment. Naming it prevents accumulation. You cannot release what you do not acknowledge. Practice 4. Say what you need before saying what you will give. Not as a negotiation. As self-knowledge. What is actually available right now? Sometimes the answer is yes, and that is genuine. Sometimes it is not. Practice 5. Test the relationship deliberately, not with a big no. With a small, honest statement of what you need, see how it lands. Most adult relationships can hold a no. The fear was built in a context that could not. The relationship that cannot hold your no was not what you thought it was. Every yes you say that you do not mean weakens the relationship, because the relationship is being built on a version of you that is not complete. The no is not the risk. The indefinite yes is the risk, because eventually the yes runs out, and then the relationship has no foundation. The no you give, honestly, carefully, is the beginning of a real relationship. Not because no is the goal, because your presence is the goal. All of your presence. Drop no in the comments if this explains something you've been carrying. Subscribe. Next. Why you feel lonely in a room full of people who love you. That one goes somewhere unexpected. See you there. Peace.